It's a deceptively simple model. When you watch a therapist do an EFT, it looks like they're just chatting about things that we all talk about. But what's a little insight's important. People need to understand why they do what they do. But to create change, what we're focusing on this model is they need to do it differently. It's more than just understanding, like our politics are good at telling what's not working. What's more important is replacing it with something that is working. And that's what we're working towards. So there's me and Sue. If you don't know where you're going, you will wind up somewhere else. I think this really sums up our field. We haven't had the greatest results if you look at the research. We've had some great gurus with some great models that kind of do things that look real cool. But most of the time when people try to follow those gurus, they don't have the same results. So how do we get much more consistent results? The warning in doing this model is most of you come here because you're looking to pick up some tools to use with your couples. I think what you're going to be surprised at is how this is going to touch you. Self and the third. You can't help but thinking about your childhood, your current relationships, people you've broken up with. We're all in relationships. We all come from relationships. So this model is really trying to get you to tune into that. So for those of you in the room, if you find yourself having really strong emotional triggers, I would encourage you. Normally when I do training, I have multiple facilitators to help in breakouts, and I don't have it here, so it's just me. But I know in California and LA, there's a strong EFT community. If people need some support, I'd reach out or reach out to me on any of these breaks. So I just want to give you a warning. If that happens, you're not strange. After 9/11, I had a guy come in my firehouse, humiliated, telling me he had a panic attack. What is wrong with him? Why does he have a panic attack? You know, every day we're going down there, we're seeing TV, and, you know, warnings of war attacks, they're going over bridges. I mean, there were huge triggers. This guy felt like he was the only one. He was the seventh guy in my firehouse. Every one of them thinks they're the only one. So I don't want you thinking here you're the only one today. A lot of people will have emotional triggers in this one-day training.
Mi pregunta es, ¿por qué, por ejemplo, para las vocaciones con reloj poner el cuerpo? A quienes sean el ejemplo, lo tengo ahí, vea, que iba para tienda, bueno, usted me va a ayudar con esto, míreme el formulario, que viene aquí, bueno, la vacuna, no decirle que me colabore, que los datos, que lo mande por WhatsApp, que yo le escriba, que nos encontremos, que nos veamos, porque para eso hay una gran iniciativa, y porque para estar con su esposa, y porque para decir, bueno, me compra de algo, o trabajamos para hacer como el salario para gente, cosas que no da dinero. Y les digo también, porque para unas cosas uno tiene que tener prioridad y porque para lo que realmente importa es su familia y no la hay. Solo porque yo lo tengo que hacer viendo cada habilidad, le digo nada, cuando ya me de la calma, pensando, grabando, organizando y funcionando.
Okay. I don't speak Spanish. Some of you might have understood what were they fighting about? Does it really? Content's important. We're going to get into this. But if you just watch that couple, you can see emotionally they're on two different planets. Does it matter what they're fighting at? What is her complaint? She is not happy with this man. Right? What are the arms saying? I did it again. I can't believe it. I talked about this. And she's just going. And what message is she sending to him? You're doing something wrong. Right? And how is he hearing it? This is going to pass. Just let it ride its storm out. Just ride this wave. It's going to pass. They're on two different planets. And yet they have this same conversation, this same fight thousands upon thousands of times. What does that do to neural pathways in the brain? Right? Fire together, they wire together. It just gets easier and easier to fall into these automatic ruts that couples do. So as a therapist, we have to start really paying attention more than just the words we're hearing. To start seeing these emotional cues, these emotional handles that are really driving the interactions. And this will get clearer as we talk about. So, what is the problem? Most people think they get separated and divorced because they fall out of love. It's actually not true. What happens to them is the defenses get too big. The distance between couples grows too far apart. Imagine this couple having this fight thousands and thousands of times. Her anger is saying, I need you to hear me. I need you to do something differently. And what does she get? Shutouts. Right? He hears in her message, you're doing it wrong. What's wrong with you? You're failing. What does he do with that message? They're stuck. Imagine, neither one of them are choosing this. It's just what happens. We're going to talk a lot about these strategies and patterns that couples fall into. But we're saying that the problem in most couples is the distance. It's the negative patterns that start to form. What happens for a couple that's starting to grow apart? If they talk about it, what's it going to lead to? A fight, which creates more distance. So they try not to fight, but then you can't repair. And as you can't repair, the distance grows greater and greater. With John Gottman's work, the only difference between master couples and disaster couples, they all have the same stuff. Almost 80% of issues that couples fight about are never resolved. If you're the late one in a marriage, guess what? You're going to be late probably the whole marriage. You're never going to fix that problem. You're going to have that same fight hundreds of times. If you're really into fixing problems, you're going to have a lot of problems with that. The only difference is this ability of master couples to repair. They notice distance, and they're able to have conversations that bring them closer together. So the problem is the distance, these negative patterns. Even more important, what is the target? What is the goal? We're focusing on the bond, the emotional bond. How would this couple have this conversation differently if their bond was strong and they could repair? Do you have an image of that couple I just saw having that conversation differently? Every time when I see a couple for the first session, and when I'm in New York, everybody has therapists. So I'm like the 10th therapist. So they have all the lingo down, right? And it is vicious. And I'm sitting back saying to myself, I'm just seeing a version of this couple. I'm seeing a very limited, protected part of who they are. I have no idea what they're capable of. Do I have an image of them having this fight over their kid? How would they have this conversation differently? If they had secure attachment, how could they do it? If the therapist doesn't have a vision of that, how are we supposed to lead couples to a different conversation? So again, I'm challenging you all. You're difficult couples. Can you see those fights that they're having and see them having that fight differently and being able to repair? That's our job. We need to be experts in the repair process. In my experience training thousands of therapists are good at seeing what doesn't work. They're pretty weak, for the most part, in understanding what they should do differently. Again, that's not judgment. That's just what I'm saying. So I want you all to think about how clear you are on the target.